Uppy, uppy, uppy. It's one funny morning. Go birds! In a blizzard, and it's too early in the morning. This is the dumbest show in the whole world.
From Monday
to Friday.
Sometimes on Saturdays.
Why would you say that in front of all these people?
Dean stinks.
You never know what's gonna happen.
That's your Dateline voice?
I don't know.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't.
It's not a chicken leg. This is a chicken leg.
Look at that manhole cover on my face.
Not a bad rendition of me. Hold on.
We know your brother. We'll give you a ride to school or whatever.
That's called
our school
murder
time.
in New Jersey.
He was a lot
Like what is?
with his everything.
Oh,
What's outside your Puerta de Clima?
that's Stellan! Yeah!
Hi, this is Carla from Houma, Louisiana. This is what I'm normally doing during the morning show. I'm walking my dogs. This is day 3, Snowmageddon, and we are finally out and about and walking. My dogs are 11, and they've never seen snow before, so they were afraid of it. But we're better now a little bit, so I'm going to give you a little view of them. Let's see if we can do it. There we go. Okay, here's Breezy. Where's Brownie? Oh, behind me. There's Brownie. Hi. Okay. So, the fun fact about Houma, I'm just being careful because we have some ice now, but it's definitely above freezing now, so we're good. We're melting. Fun fact, Houma, Houma, is named after a village of the Houma Indians. The Houma Indians are still here in the community and are very active. So that's our fun fact. And Houma is about an hour-ish, maybe a little more, southwest of New Orleans. So very south. All right, take it away, Dina.
Good morning. That was Carla. I loved it. I love meeting the dogs. I love that she was like Snowmageddon. And then when she turned the camera around, it was mostly concrete. That's a lot of snow for them. So good morning. Good morning. I suppose I should be wearing green. Now that I said it. Now that I was like, go birds. I realized I didn't have any green on. It doesn't matter. We still won. And we didn't win by a little. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It actually was somewhat anticlimactic. Is anybody else on board with that? I think we won in the first quarter. It was never close. You know how like sometimes there'll be a game and you're like on the edge of your seat. You're like, what's gonna happen? Okay. Was anybody watching the game and just looking around and just going, are they trying? Are they? Was anybody else? Janice, it was crazy. At one point, I'm going to talk like I know football. At one point, Mahomes, they tackled that man. I hope he gets a vacation. That man he must have been like, what happened? Did you all get together and were like, you know what? Let's get him. Like it just, the comeback kids did not come back. You are not wrong. At one point, Mahomes, listen, the MVP should be Mahomes. I don't know how they decide. I don't even know who got it because I went to bed. I was tired. Was it 6 times? It was at one point, he was like a pinball machine. Like he found the hole. That's what she said. Found the hole and he's boom, boom, boom. It looked like a clown car. It looked like I don't know how they get hit like that and pop back up. That's number one. Like I'm never going to say that I did say they weren't trying, but honestly, I'm going to give Jalen Hurts was MVP. That makes sense. But if there was like a second MVP, I feel like it should go to Mahomes. What? I know. He needs a massage and a Tylenol. Girl. Yeah. It was a lot. Literally at one point, I was like, this is like a clown car. Like everybody was just, and then there was that one catch at the end. I mean, there was one catch. It was the Dijon, the kid, the 22-year-old. Did he flip over and you thought he lost the ball, but he didn't? Was that him or was that Saquon? I don't know. All of the catches, you're just like, I'm just going to tell you something. If somebody handed me a ball and bumped into me, chances are it's gone. I'd be like, I was trying to reach for ice cream. Like, the feats of the physical feats that they are able to accomplish. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. Is that Courtney? Is that who he is? Coop. He was adorable. Yeah, and I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna take this as I'm officially old, and I'm fine with saying it. And I everybody got to like what they like, but I did not. I did not connect with the halftime show. And maybe it's just me. I know somebody was dissed. But if your show is about saying something mean about somebody who I also am not familiar with, then I feel like this is a private conversation. And I don't know. It was his birthday. I know. I don't think it was for me, and that's totally fine. What is it? Okay, Hooper. Okay. Oh, Boomer. Okay, Boomer. I said Hooper. It's another thing. Don't worry, you guys wouldn't understand. I was a boomer. I just wanted somebody to just come on and sing something I heard. Sometimes they'll do a melody and I'll be like, well, I don't know that guy, but I like it. I was like, ooh, yeah. Mary J. Blige will come on, but I'll go. Yeah. So that was several commercials say a lot about where we are right now. Yep. No, I did. I like the commercials. Here's what I'm going to say. Tell me what was your favorite commercial. Can we do that? Because I did not think that the commercials were like hilariously funny. Mm-hmm. Reference the halftime show reference the Squid Games. I didn't get that either. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I wish the halftime shows would, maybe have a song for everybody, like old people, maybe do a little Frank Sinatra. Di would love it. Okay. Something for RJ, a little Eminem. When Eminem was on, I was like, oh. And my kids knew him. Mm-hmm. The flag football for girls. I didn't know. I guess that girl that was in it was like a superstar. Mm-hmm. The sloth commercial. That was cute. The seal commercial. That one was good. The Stitch commercial. I don't remember that one. I think I missed some. I don't know what the eyebrows ad is. I must have missed it. The little girl who planted the potatoes, the Lay's potato chips. Mm-hmm. Oh no. Victoria, that sounds like a whole thing. The cowboy heads. Did they ever do anything with it again? Like, I thought it was gonna, because it came back. First it was the baby with a cowboy hat. And then he was like randomly walking in the streets. Oh no, they did come back. And then everybody with a Harry Potter hat on had a cow. I didn't really get it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the David Beckham one. And I'm going to tell you, even that, I was like, where are we going? Honestly, the only thing I laughed at last night was when Matt Damon, and he was like, well, how famous are you at kicking a ball? He's like, I'm pretty famous. He's like, how famous? He's like, Ben Affleck famous. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. That was the funniest line to me of the whole night. And that is a diss that I feel like everyone in the world understood. Oh, is Eugene Levy? No, I would have liked that. Yeah. No, the girls flag football commercial was awesome. And I didn't know we were considering making that into a thing. If that's a thing, then pickleball should be a thing. But if you like your niece, don't play pickleball. If you don't want to have here's the thing about pickleball. I love pickleball, but I haven't played in a while because I need my body to be ready. Because you don't know how many people I talk to that have like major injuries from pickleball. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm playing old people. It's supposed to be an old people game. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady with the batteries in his arms. Yeah. The cul-de-sac one was okay to me, Shannon. I was like, eh. Mm-hmm. I did like Snoop and Brady. Brady was everywhere. I was like, can we tone down it was in a commercial, then his voice, and then it was him again. I was like, I get it. He's alive. He's alive. There's so many people on the planet. I just feel like, yeah, anyone expecting to be entertained wouldn't think it was good. And that's what I've read, Shakendra. Some people are like, if you didn't get the message, it wasn't for you. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, I think I'm old because even the Grammys, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. Although I did find a couple people that I was like, oh, he sings that song. Mm-hmm. So, the Instacart commercial got my attention. Was anybody watching that commercial and be like, what is happening? How did they get all of those logos, or what do they call them, mascots, to be in the same commercial? I was like, you got the Kool-Aid guy in this commercial? I'm trying to think. All I remember is the Kool-Aid guy because he came through the glass. They had, the Jolly Green Giant was in it. I was like, my brain was exploding. And my brain was exploding because they were all in the same commercial. I was like, why are you all in the same universe? It was like when Dean starts talking like a dork, he was like, Mom, it's a multiverse. I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying. He was like, Mom, it's a different universe. That's how they existed, but they never met. It was like that. But it was real quick. And all of a sudden, all of these logos and mascots were in the same, walking down the street, going somewhere. Pillsbury Doughboy, the Energizer Bunny. No, they're not all the same company. They were all different. And then I was like, what? So Nancy, that's what was so funny, is I was like, what's happening? Maybe because I dress up in a costume for a job. Amy, what's your job? Today's free Starbucks coffee day, by the way. So everybody's telling me. It ended up being for Instacart. It was a commercial for Instacart. So like you can order all of these brands. Yeah, Mr. Clean was in there. It was funny. I mean, I enjoyed that commercial. You don't even realize. You don't even realize like how many different spokespeople there are. Characters for you. Oh, Amy, are you like a singing telegram? Weather check, hot flash, bingo caller, born to be wild was the music. Whatever comes around. I don't think I saw that one. Yeah. No, it was interesting. All the mustaches. I must have missed that. I vaguely remember mustaches being thrown around, but yeah. Mobile orders take precedence, I guess. So order your free coffee through the app to avoid the line at Starbucks. Here's the funny thing. is that I say that about Tom Brady, that he's everywhere, and it's like a lot of Tom Brady. But if Snoop Dogg was doing the same thing, I would be like, we're going to need some more Snoop Dogg. Just, it's never enough Snoop. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but it's never enough. Isn't that funny? How there are certain people. How do you get the free coffee? Said Stacy. Yeah, someone unpack. Let me look. Let me Google. I'm gonna Google. We had baths here yesterday. It was very exciting, right, Boob? You want to come say hi to everybody? Starbucks free coffee day. It's today. Okay. In case you stay up late to watch the football, blah, 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 blah. Starbucks is offering customers free coffee to wake up on Monday. Starbucks rewards members. No matter who wins on Sunday, we can all win Monday. It's called Starbucks Member. If you're a member of the rewards program, you can stop in for a free, tall, hot, or iced brewed coffee anytime during the promotion. It's February 10th. You can apply the Starbucks Monday coupon in the Starbucks app prior to placing your order when using the order ahead feature on the app, or tell your barista you are redeeming the coupon when ordering in store or in the drive-thru. If you are not a member and join on the 10th, the company says you can see your barista in the store to enjoy a free coffee. So you could do it. And Valentine's Day. Oh, they got chocolate-covered strawberry creme frappuccinos. Where we gotta go? Oh, that's what I'll do. Chocolate hazelnuts cookie cold brew. Okay, just so you know, a side note. So on Valentine's Day, I will be in New York at Dean and Jacqueline's place, because this Friday is when we find out if Dean is going to Juilliard weekend. So I'm going up on Thursday night. Chewy is giving away dog and cat treats because the Eagles won. What? I'm bougie. I can't drink plain coffee. I don't ever drink coffee at all. I know, Tanya. So Jacqueline and I were talking about it last night. I'm like, Jacqueline, we need to prepare for either way what happens. If he gets in, we celebrate. I said, but we have to be prepared. What if he doesn't get in? She goes, then we celebrate. I go, yes. So it's very exciting. I did skip to the end of the week, Kendra, because then they said Valentine's. I was like, oh, what am I doing on Valentine's? Oh, that's right. I'm with Dean. Is going to the weekend mean he has gotten into Juilliard? No, this is just the next step, Judy. So this basically is the top 10 at Miss America, right? So you don't know, so they did maybe 15 rounds. They did 5 days in New York, 5 days in Chicago, and 5 days, maybe San Francisco, San Diego, something with a San in it in California. 5 days out there. And they did these open calls. And at the end of each day, they had these finalists. So Dean was a finalist for the Juilliard auditions in New York on one of the days. But they don't say oh, we had 200 people show up and we're going to take the top 10. They don't do that. They could see 200 people that day and be like, we don't like any of these people. Or they could take 50. They're highly selective, but they don't. So they could have done 5 days in New York. There were 12 people on Dean's Day that made it to the end of the day. But you don't know, right? So, but at the end of it, they collect, and these are bachelor students and master's students. So Dean is going for the master's program. And so at some point, they'll sit down And they'll say, okay, we're going to pick 25 students for the bachelor program, 25 for the master's. And this is what I read on the website. I'm sure it's not, maybe it's 26 and 24. I don't work there. I'm just telling you what I read. And, but at some point they'll sit down with all of the finalists that they've met, and they'll pick 25-ish for the master's, 25-ish for the bachelor's, and they go to Juilliard weekend in March. And they will go. And I think that that's amazing in itself. Like, could you imagine, you're going to go for like 3 or 4 days to New York. You'll be studying with the Juilliard faculty and doing all of these things. And I got to get some lotion. And auditioning, and they do classes and improv and all this stuff. And then at the end of that weekend, I guess the faculty sits down again and decides who are the 8 that are going to be chosen for the class in September. So yeah, it's it's exciting. No, the master's program is a 4-year program, and it's free. And somebody gave an endowment. So this is the first year that the master's program is free. And I was like, Dean, how did they know that poor people were going to apply like us? And now it's free. I mean, really, like, the moons had to align in such a weird way to make it happen. But it's an email that he's going to get ish. If it comes through, it'll be in an email. And then I told him, I said, all right, you can't answer the email. Like, we have to set it up. You know how when they do, like, when people either get drafted and they're like, let's see where I'm getting drafted to, or like college, when people get their college, and then so I'll record it. I don't know. So yeah, so we'll see, but we're just excited. I think that, as I said before, he got into Syracuse years ago, and we couldn't afford it. And it's a very hard conversation. And I want to tell the story because I think that there are a lot of students out there that think that they don't get into the school, their first choice, their life is over. And there are parents out there that are like, my kid got in, but I can't afford it. I can't afford to send them. And those are real conversations people are having all the time. And, it just wasn't in the cards for us. And we had lots of conversations about being responsible and I was like, do you want to have a house one day? And he was like, I think so. I go, well, you can either have a house or go to Syracuse, but you can't do both. Like, those are hard conversations. And so we didn't. And now it's 6 years later. And, I would love to be able to say that, it doesn't matter where you start out, you just keep working and hopefully you'll end up where you're supposed to be or you want to be. And, but he's just, I think, super excited about the fact that, his life went in a different direction. He ended up pursuing digital media and marketing, and his life went in this direction for 6 years. And he had great success with it. And oh, look, did I give myself a thumbs down? And, but, in his heart, he was like, I don't think I love this. I miss performing. And so that's why he went to this open call. And so we're just super thankful because whether he gets in or not, I think he needed like this, like a boost of self-esteem to say, like, you're good at this, regardless of whether or not you have a degree in it or whether or not you get to go to Juilliard, like, you got something and you should pursue it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And yes, Jeremy, I will tell him if he gets into Juilliard, that does sound like Blazer territory. So I'll send him to your house so you could do like a full Blazer tutorial. Stop. It's the licking. I can't. Not today. That's not who we are. My daughter chose her school, was accepted, and only able to go with the scholarship she got from busting her butt, writing all those applications. She really earned it. Oh, that's so nice. So anyway, so it's exciting. It's an exciting time. And girl, I'm going to be talking about all week. You're going to be so sick of it. But I'm excited. So that's going to be my Valentine's. And then Jacqueline has a show that night. So, yeah. So, and then Dean was like, Mom, what if the email comes while we're at Jacqueline's show? I'm like, then we will get up, excuse ourselves, and then go in the back and scream our heads off. So we'll see. So it's an exciting time here at the Blizzards. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend and was able to enjoy the game last night and get a little laugh from the fabulous commercials and stuff. This is my thinking face. Hold on. Something's going on with my computer. It doesn't want to work. Hold on. Was Dean in the football pool? He was. He's so funny. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm ready. He's so funny. Does anybody else's heart melt when their son just calls to say hi? I'm at the point where Dean sometimes just calls to talk to me. It's been life-changing. I just want you to know. Jacqueline, I can always tell. She's either about to cry or she needs something. Or she needs to just have me listen to her cry, which is fine. But Dean sometimes just calls to talk to me. And I'm always like, what's going on? What's wrong? Did something happen? He was like, no, I just want to see how you were doing. And I'm like, I'm like, what day is it? He's 25 years old. It took 25 years, but I don't even care. Did they give a time frame? He thinks that they said that they don't send these emails out until after 5 o'clock. So I don't know. But I guess all night he's going to be at the play like this. So I don't know. We're just gonna have fun. So like I said, hopefully you had a great weekend, enjoyed the game, got to watch commercials. In between watching the game, hopefully not. Hopefully you all just watch the game. I'm never just watching TV. I'm watching TV and I'm on my computer and I'm checking my phone. And one of my favorite pastimes is to check in on the Burned Haystack Method. I don't know how many of you are on it, but we talked about it. Last year, we had Jennie Young on. She is the founder of the Burned Haystack Method, the writer of the book, and all of the things. And we had her on last year because I was very much in a place where, I was very intrigued by it because I went through this process of the dating apps. And I said, if you are considering getting your groove back and getting into the dating pool. If you're over 22, it's all new and very intimidating at times. But Jennie has an amazing ability to, give a little bit of structure to it, give you a little bit of advice to say, what should you be looking for? And does it in a way that really makes sense. So let me introduce her again for those of you that may not know her from last time. Jennie Young, PhD, is the creator of the Burned Haystack Dating Method, a writer and professor at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. She publishes work in humor, feminism, applied rhetoric, dating dynamics, and education. Her writing can be seen in McSweeney's, Ms. Magazine, The Independent, HuffPost, Education Week, Inside Higher Ed, and elsewhere. She's trained in classical and applied rhetoric. Previously, she wrote a textbook on high school culture using applied rhetoric, critical discourse analysis, and primary metaphor analysis methodologies. She is now applying these same methodologies to the dating sphere, packaging and articulating it in a way that is accessible and engaging for a general audience and sharing it freely on social media, which I love. She has a PhD in rhetoric and discourse studies from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, and a certificate in satire writing from the Second City, Chicago. So please help me welcome to the show, Jennie Young. Welcome back. Hey, Jennie.
Hi, how are you?
It's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
It's so good to see you again. When were we last here?
I think it had to be over a year ago.
Yeah, I
I
think
was
so.
at my other house, and so since then, so I met my boyfriend, who I'm living with now, on Bumble. But I found you after we had met. But I've been following. I just feel like, whether it's the people that follow us here on this show or just friends of mine in life that are just so afraid of the apps. I'm like, join the Burned Haystack Method. Like, if not anything, for the entertainment value is so interesting. So tell us, have you been like, catch us up with what you've been doing in the last year and the page.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a wild year. I Not in my wildest dreams would anything that's happening right now ever have happened. When I started the project, which I started as a private Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
I was really interested intellectually and rhetorically, in what I was doing. And I was dating. Like I started out just trying to do this for myself.
As a
I got to
user,
this stuff somehow. And in my wildest dreams, I thought maybe at some point I'll get like a tiny little press somewhere, an independent group willing to like publish this musing on applied rhetoric and gender dynamics and feminism and all these things. And so to now be writing a book for HarperCollins and to have had, the private Facebook group now has like 153,000 women in it. And there's I've added other platforms since then, because you just really never know what might happen with Facebook. It's a tenuous situation. But what's been most interesting to me is the stuff that I didn't foresee happening. So you talked about being in the group even though you're not dating, and that's not at all uncommon. There's thousands of women in that group who are, either married or partnered or not even interested in dating, but are finding value in the community and the feminism and the education and the humor, for sure. So I really I'm starting to see Burned Haystack going in a direction other than dating, because I'm hearing all the time women say, I'm actually using this a lot at work, or I'm using it with my family. One of the biggest surprises, and I think the most gratifying to me, is that we found out a lot of therapists and psychologists and counselors are using the methodology, especially with support groups for women coming out of abuse. And either, trying to re-enter the dating sphere or even just sort of heal and move on. So
it's amazing. So
amazing.
So if you have not had the chance to visit the page, I think that the one thing that's been interesting that I tell people is, can you explain this word rhetoric? Because I feel like it's your deep dive into what people are saying. They're like, I actually took a couple screenshots to talk about with you that were just recent that came up. But one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but this is my layman's term, is that so it's an all-female group. No men are in this group.
Women and non-binary, but no men. Yeah.
And so somebody might get on the dating app, and you might be messaging with a fella on the app, or you might see somebody's profile, or say you're messaging with somebody, which is the point on the dating app. Right. And then they'll say something, and there was something that came up recently, and the way that you said it was like there's a lot of conversations about men bringing up how you look or sexual things very quickly. And one of the things is it is our job to look at what people are saying. And it's kind of harkens back to when people tell you who they are, listen, believe them. And so there are things that people are saying, or if a guy says, hey, let's meet up, and you're like, okay, when? And they're not specific, they're not intentional, they're not making plans, that means something. And there's so many of us have been in relationships where you're like, this person isn't even trying. And you're like, well, they've never tried. Like, this is not new. You just weren't reading it. Like, tell me, like, in your point of view, from an academic point of view, why is it so important that we have conversations about rhetoric and what actually is rhetoric? Because I don't know that many of us know that this is, you get a PhD in this.
Right. So there's a lot of definitions of rhetoric. Like we can talk about classical rhetoric in terms of how the ancient Greeks and Romans, facilitated debates. And that's a whole field. When I talk about rhetoric, what I'm really talking about is the study of language and other things. So like there's visual rhetoric, there's material rhetoric, there's embodied rhetoric. So just to like make that really quick, the set of pictures the guy chooses is a really like invaluable artifact of visual rhetoric.
The fish,
the motorcycle, the fact that his head is cut off in every picture because he's probably
gym picture.
The gym bros. So that's visual rhetoric. Like you can read a lot from that selection because that's a decision-making process, right? It wasn't random. He selected that for a certain reason. So that's visual rhetoric. Textual rhetoric is obviously words.
Right.
And when we talk about critical discourse analysis, which is my primary methodology, it's really just a very formalized way of looking at text and figuring out what people are revealing to you when they don't intend to. And that's really important because the most common critique I hear, especially from new members, is like, you're spending a lot of time analyzing this, and I don't think this dude even thought about it.
Yeah.
Which is true, but that's actually the key. The fact that he didn't think about it is more revealing. Like, those people are easier to read. The guys who are really like super smart and rhetorically crafty, like they could intentionally, manipulate. Although there's ways to read for that too. But the point is that it doesn't matter at all what anyone's intentions are or how much time they spend. The tactics we use are intended to like sharpen your receptive skills, to let you like, it's like a magical magnifying glass that you can hold over something, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, like I see what's going on. And if you think about it, almost everyone who's been in like a bad or toxic relationship for a long period of time, as you just alluded to, they can look back to day one and be like, I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Or that bothered me then.
The feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't have words for it, and we couldn't articulate it, which is why I do so much rhetorical patterning is like one of our tactics in Burned Haystack. So we could say, this is the test and apologize pattern, or this is the my kids come first pattern, or this is I'm a very busy man pattern. There's like 50 some of them. So we did visual, textual, embodied rhetoric. The guys who like all their profile pictures are like taken from this angle and they're like glaring down at you, or they're like leaning back on the pillow. Or they're posting crotch shots. That's embodied rhetoric, and it's not meaningless. So we have all these different ways we analyze rhetoric. Yeah.
What does it mean? Is this, I think I'm amazing? Because this is what I think it means.
I think there's an I think I'm amazing. I think in a lot of cases, there's a clear intimidation factor. The guys who are glaring down angrily,
I don't like that.
No women like this. I don't know why they keep doing it. Their profiles usually read pretty angry too. Like we have one of the rhetorical patterns is what we call the disciplinary directive language, from where men kind of like use their bio to tell you how it's going to be. Like, don't waste my time if you're not willing to meet right away. Get over yourself. If you're not a 10, I don't even want to talk to you. Like these kind of things, which is actually not their bio. It's not even about that.
Yeah. Now, all right. So I have so many things that pop in my brain when you're talking. So this was funny. After I spoke with you, I had an ex-boyfriend came like through my Facebook. Right, we stayed friends, whatever.
Yeah.
So of course I click on see what's it.
Right.
So I click on it, and as I'm looking at it, it was so funny because first, it was not the clear fish, gym, motorcycle. It wasn't that.
Okay.
What I'm finding is steak on a grill, guy on a mountain, usually skiing or hiking, and a lot of pictures with a female daughter specifically. I mean, some with sons, but always if they have a daughter, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was scrolling through the thing and I saw grill, mountain skiing, daughter, I was like, he's getting divorced. And then I kept scrolling, no pictures. The wife was gone. And I was like, this, and it's so funny because if you look on any random guy, if you see him skiing and he's got a picture of a steak on a grill, you're like, there's a picture of his daughter coming up, coming, or his mom, it's coming. A dog. Yep. Mary Ellen said dog.
Dog, yeah.
Funny. It was very.
So that's material rhetoric that you're reading, right? The steak on the grill, the skiing down a mountain.
I got everything I could ever want. Yeah, it was a lot. The other thing you said was, and it was funny because I've talked to my son, I talked to my boyfriend, guys that I really love and I admire, and I think that they're good people. And I, like I'll be out somewhere, Jenny, and so I'll be like, oh, what's this one say? And I'll read something from Burned Haystack. I'm like, listen to this, and I'll read them. And they're like, why are you doing this? Why do you read this? I'm like, this is amazing. And they don't understand it. And I try to explain it. And I said, I think you don't understand it. Number one, because you don't get the crazy messages that we get, the aggressive messages that we get, number one. And number two, you're a nice guy. It would never dawn on you to write the stuff that these men write. So it doesn't make sense to you. You have no idea what I have to sift through or had to sift through before. But I really, there are times where, and I think it's nice because I do think that there are a lot of times, so people will, just so everybody knows, sometimes like say you're on the app and somebody writes something and you're not quite sure, you have like a feeling, somebody will take a picture of it, put it up on Burned Haystack and say, I'm getting a little bit of an uneasy feeling. Is it me? Or what does this mean? And the community at large will come in and say, yeah, I don't like this. And some people say, I don't mind it. I think this was a joke. And then Jenny will come in and kind of talk about it. Sometimes it's overwhelmingly like, yeah, this is like burn, B2B, which is block to burn, like get rid of this guy. But I do love, like, was it always your intention to have this be kind of a community thing? And I know there are times where you'll turn the comments off and talk about that too.
Well, yeah, I never realized that I was going to have to do that. I always wanted it to be crowdsourced and like a discussion space. The problem with and I knew nothing about social media when I started doing this, and I had zero following. It was just like absolutely clueless. What I've now learned is that at a certain, and I don't know what the critical mass is of Facebook group membership, but at a certain level, I don't know, maybe it's 10,000, 20,000. What happens is people start fighting, which, is, and there's a difference between respectful debate and fighting. I'm talking about like name calling and stuff like that. And what happens when that occurs is people start reporting each other. So that's one thing that happens. And at a certain number of reports, Facebook starts like imposing sanctions
on the group at large.
And sometimes on me, and sometimes on individuals, sometimes on individual members. Other times Facebook will start like having bad reactions, even if group members aren't reporting each other. And it's never, it's all AI driven. And sometimes, somebody's using a word that it's flagged for, and they're not even using it in a problematic way, but it'll still, it'll get them silenced. I'll get moderation alerts. The real fear is that Facebook groups can just completely disappear with no warning. It happens all the time. And then the other thing that's been happening, actually two other things, predatory dating coaches coming in to use the platform to solicit clients. And they they'll do that through the comments and through private messaging. This has been a real problem. I don't have a problem with dating coaches being in the group, but that's like not allowed. And then just pure scam operations. Facebook does a pretty good job of rooting some of them out, but like there's one that if there's enough comments on a post at a certain number, it bombards the post and it'll look like normal women. You know, it'll be like Judy from Omaha, and it'll be a long story about Judy's abuse journey. And then at the very end, it's trying to take you to another site.
Wow.
And it says it's for running background checks, but it's not. It's a total scam. And so I have to, or whoever's moderating, I do have one other moderator. It's almost impossible at the size of the group now to stay on top of it, because while you're in one post, this is going on in another post. So unless I'm right there, I just shut down commenting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's not a problem on Substack. So commenting is always open on Substack and on Instagram, but in the Facebook group, I have to be really careful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then talk about, I do think that so much of what you do, and maybe that is the reason why, I mean, there's definitely a lot of funny things that happen. I like to laugh. But I do think that one of the things that your program and your page does is give some boundaries. I think a lot of times, even in my own life, I mean, I think I'm a pretty boisterous person. I'm a comedian. I obviously don't have a problem saying what I think about things, but I do find that, and I was having this conversation with my daughter, that, you know, I was brought up to think good in people and to give people the benefit of the doubt, and to the point where I will make excuses for them. And that is not helpful to me if I give that benefit of the doubt to people who shouldn't have it or don't deserve it. And I think that, like you're saying, that, you know, there are lots of ways. I think that not only is this good for finding somebody, but even for evaluating the current relationship that you're in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you find that a lot in the group?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, women are socialized to be all the things you just said, right? To be accommodating and generous and sacrificial, and to give grace, which is like a favorite phrase of predatory dating coaches. So we have to kind of rewire that. And, you know, I err on the side of harshness. And people say all the time, like, you're completely unreasonable. And I fight about that, but in my mind, I'm like, I know that, but I'm also like, if I'm going to like be the leader of this thing, I would much rather err on the side of that, because the rest of society is giving women all these messages about being accommodating and generous and giving everybody a million chances. So, you know, if the personal hit I'm taking is that people think I'm a witch, which is why I wear my witch's braids, I'm like totally willing to embrace that.
Well, there was one post, and this one stuck with me. I just thought it was so like something I would do. It was a woman who had matched with a guy who they really had a nice connection. The conversations were really lovely. And they had said they had agreed to like, let's meet up. Well, little beknownst to them, I think she said she works in this town that he lives in like twice a month. But they matched while she was working, but she really lives like 2 hours away. And when they both realized, oh, we actually don't live near each other, he writes to her and says, you know, listen, I'm sorry, but you know, I'm really looking for somebody that's like closer vicinity.
Oh, that was me. That was a guy I met.
And he said, but if you're ever in town,
give me a call.
It was you?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
And so I was going to say, and you said, but maybe you were talking about yourself, and you said like, this is not good. Like this is, and you said in there, cause that's something I would do, like, is like, well, maybe I should meet him. He'll realize how great I am.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, oh, I'll make all these concessions for you, when he clearly already said, I do not want this.
Right.
He's not going to fall madly in love with you and change his mind. But in our minds, we're like, oh, once he gets to know me and knows that I can make really good banana bread, then, but you're like, it is that idea. Like he told you already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think there's a Substack article about that. And I think the title is something like, We Need to Talk About Jeff. So if you Google, We Need to Talk About Jeff and my name or Burned Haystack, I think it'll come up. But yeah, and I mean, the funny thing is he was the one who suggested coffee. Like the coffee, he wasn't willing to drive halfway to meet for the coffee that was his idea. So I never did meet him, and I'm glad.
I was going to say, because he said, I'll be willing to meet you if you come here. And you're like, no, that's not even. Now, Jim just said, and I think that this is a question for a lot of nice guys. I can vouch for Jim. He likes to nudge me, but he's a nice guy. Does your method help women recognize positives in a guy before meeting him?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like there's several posts that go through the green flags as well. But the way Burned Haystack works, if we think about the metaphor, the goal is to burn the haystack. So you don't even actually have to think about what am I looking for in a positive sense. What you're using profiles to rule men out, not to rule them in. Because if you rule enough of them out, just get rid of them, then you'll see the good profiles. Yeah. And that's, like, you will just know it. And the reason it's a good profile is because it's not a bad profile. Because a profile doesn't have to be some glowing, like, wonderful thing where there's fireworks going off. It just has to not have red flags, because a lot of people don't put a whole lot of stuff in their profile. Like I've talked to a lot of men, and I've met and interviewed with a lot of men about this project. And I have them show me their dating app profile, and I'm like, this is not really that impressive. But when I look at it really closely, there's also no red flags. So it might not be that interesting. Like they might be way more interesting in real life and more exciting in real life. So I always tell women, if it's not a no, it could be a yes. You got to kind of meet him and find out.
All right.
So I'm ruling people out.
Kim said, but if we're ruling out men because they have a fish in their pictures or skis or daughters, then how are we any better than them? Well, I don't think it's just that. Like if I saw a guy with a fish, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to go out with them.
Right. I mean, men have told me they rule out, like, I don't think this is this big a thing anymore, but there was a trend of like middle-aged women posting their profile pictures with like the little cat ears and nose and whiskers. And most reasonable men are like, no. And I have to agree with them. When I think about my friends, like my smart female funny friends, none of us would do that. That's
not doing that. I've heard guys say that they heavily filtered. Like,
yes, that's a huge, more of a problem with women than men.
Yeah, like you're 52. Why do you have the skin of a 22-year-old?
Right.
Like, that's not what you look like. Now, Curly Top said, what are some good questions to spark conversation either on the app or in person when you first meet? Question samples suck. Like, I mean, that is on both sides. It's difficult because, a lot, as I said before, a lot of the, conversations is that within a very short amount of time, men are talking about sexual things. And you're like, I just met you. Like you wouldn't do this in real life. And if you did, it would not be talking to you. Yeah.
That every single Burned Haystack success story, and there's tons of them now, is 100%. The guys who turn out to be needles, they do not talk about sex in their profiles, in early messaging, on first dates. They just don't do it. Coach Anwar White on Instagram, he's specifically a dating coach for Black and brown women, and he's also a gay man. So he has this like interesting perspective. He says, if you're on the fence about something, ask yourself, would my husband do that? Like your hypothetical husband. And if the answer is no, then like block to burn that guy. But you can also say, like, if you really respect your dad, you could say, would my dad do that? And probably the answer is no. Would my brother do that? No. Would my best friend's husband do that? No. Then don't give this guy the benefit of the doubt. And then, to go back to your friend's question, I don't like prescriptive methods of dating. So I never say, like, here's like what you should talk about, because here's what happens with that. Over time, that gets picked up and becomes this cliched thing where everybody has their like boilerplate answers ready for anyway. And it's also just inauthentic. I think you should talk about things you're interested in. I think you should talk about things you care about. I don't think you should talk about deeply personal things early on. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what they're going to do with that information. And that doesn't mean that you have to talk about fluffy, boring things. You know, talk about politics. That'll give you some information.
That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that. I avoided anything like that. That's so funny.
I would not avoid it right now, personally.
Well, you're right.
Too much at stake, I think.
Well, I agree with you, but I feel like I could also tell by people's profile.
You can usually.
You know, I was just like, you know, I feel like.
Yeah.
Julie said, "What are your thoughts on matchmakers?"
You know, I think like anything else, if you've got a really good one and you live in an area where there's a lot of people, and your really good matchmaker has a large client base, it could work really well. That said, I've never met a single person that it worked for. And some of these, like It's Just Lunch, or there's a couple other, services that provide this. I've never talked to anybody that's had it work.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure they have success stories. I've never heard one.
So Jessica says, how do you talk about going from the meet and greet phase to commitment? Now, I'm going to say, Jessica, that seems like a really wide meet and greet. Do you mean dating to commitment? I feel like you need to, because that's a big jump from let's meet to commitment.
Yeah.
I will say that, when Jason and I, we met on the app, and we were not dating for very long, maybe a couple weeks. And he said, he was like, I want you to know that I took myself off the app. And then it was like the version of I love you, where you stare at the person, you're like, am I supposed to say that back? And I go, okay. And then I just looked and I go, am I supposed to say that back to you? Because I don't know that I'm, he's like, no, I just want you to know where I am. I've taken myself off. I really like you, and I'd like to just be dating you. Like, I'm not looking for anybody else. And then
that's super green flaggy, because he was transparent with you. He took an emotional risk, but he also didn't demand anything of you.
No.
Not even subtly, right? So like, that's like the greenest of green flags.
I know.
I think so. To respond to that question, number one, that's a little bit outside my scope of expertise. Like,
well, wait, Jessica clarified. She said they've gone on 4 to 5 dates.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think at that point you want to be talking hypothetically. Like, my goal for myself is to end up in a long-term committed monogamous partnership. I have no idea if that will be with you, because I don't know you well enough yet. But I am interested, in what your goal is for yourself. I think that's how you want to have those kind of conversations. I saw a meme the other day. I think it was on Instagram, and it was a very young woman. But I thought this was brilliant. She said, "If he's into you, you'll know it. If he's not, you'll be confused. If you're constantly confused, he's not into you, or at least not in a way that's going to be able to sustain a relationship, right? Like, and this is where." This book is so old now, and the movie's old, the whole he's just not that into you.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's a lot of deep wisdom in that book, because the guy who wrote it, who was a writer, and he's a comedian. Do you know him? The guy who wrote it? He's a comedian. I can't remember his name. He was a writer on Sex and the City. And he said he'd watch these women like twisting themselves into these conversations where they're like, I think he really loves me, but he just loves me so much that he's afraid to express it because he feels threatened. And he's like, that's not what's going on at all.
No.
And that's true.
No.
So like, you can get very real with yourself.
Well, it's funny. So my son is 25 and he was going on a few dates with a girl. And it was over Christmas time and she had gone away. And I noticed that he didn't really bring her up very much at all, once in a while, but not much. And I know when he's really been into somebody, he'll talk about her all the time, but nothing, right? Nothing, fine. And she got back from vacation. And she called and she said, I want to meet with you. And she broke up with him. And she said, I just, I don't really feel like you have time for me. Mm-hmm. And so, I just doesn't feel like you're ready. So we're going to break up. And his answer was, okay.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I think that's good, Dean. You didn't really seem like you were into her.
Right.
So she read that. She was picking that up, that uncomfortableness, right? And so a week goes by, Jenny. She called him back up. She said, can we meet? And I was like, Dean. She said, I'd like to, she said, I think I reacted too quickly. And I was like, she didn't.
I agree.
She was right. And now she's thinking like, oh, if he really gets to know me, knows I make really good banana bread, then he'll get. And I was like, Dean, I said, Dean, it is very important that you are very clear with this girl. And you need to say, you're a very lovely person. I just don't see this moving forward romantically. Because from my perspective, like I totally got this girl. I was like, this girl, it was like, I was like, she thought that if she broke up with you, you'd be like, oh, no. And you were like, okay. And she was like, I think I just messed up. And it's just funny, like me learning about this method from you and learning my own boundaries in my head, but seeing it now in a 25-year-old girl, I'm like, she was right. Tell her to keep with it. She deserves better for you. And not that you're a horrible person, but you don't like her the way that you should like her.
Right. So good for you. For being a good mom, not just to him, but to her.
Well, that's what I mean. I was like, Dean, I was like, it's important that you're very clear with women. Like she wants you to like her. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you do. He was like, I don't think I do either. I said, then you need to say that in a way that is kind. But I think there's learning on both sides to be able for us to be okay with, like, I tell them all the time that in high school, there was the guy, Jenny, so handsome. He was this tall. And I was my height, and it just, at that time, I don't know. He was adorable. Anyway, we had gone on a couple dates through friends and I was in love. I could have picked him up like a little teddy bear and brought him home, but he broke up with me. I say broke up. We probably went on 2 dates, Jenny.
Right, yeah.
I was in love.
Those days, yeah.
But he broke up with me in the nicest way possible. He was like, Dina, I think you're such a nice person. He said, but, I've been talking with a girl that I was dating before, and I think that there's just something really special with her, and I really need to pursue that. But I just think that it still stays with me, like that he was so lovely about it. I was like, Dean, just say nice things, and there's a person for her, and all of that. And
and that's like when you have an experience like that with someone, that gives you a touchstone for future people, right? Yeah. So even if that relationship didn't work out for you, or this one's not working out for your son, like if it's handled really nicely, that gives someone an experience that when someone's not treating them well, they can call it out.
Yeah. They're like, listen, a guy broke up with me and he was still nicer than you.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, well, listen, Jenny, this was so awesome. I just love having you on here. And I just think you're doing such great things. And I'm just so excited to see where this goes. And if you are thinking about getting on apps, or maybe just need to think about how you value how people communicate with you or speak to you, or maybe work on ways that you can be speaking more clearly about what you want and what you need in relationships. And that can be at work, that can be with family, with sisters. so many things. I think it's just so valuable. So we're big fans here, Jenny, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us again. You're welcome anytime, and I'm sure I'm going to call you again. And
I would love that. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. So Michelle has been posting where you can find Jenny on Facebook, on her website, on Instagram, all of the things. So be sure to follow her there. But thanks so much, Jenny. We'll be in touch. All right. I'll see you. Bye-bye. I just love it, you guys. I think that there is so much to be talked about there. And again, whether you are actively dating or whether you are in a relationship, but you're like, hey, I'm not sure what this person's trying to say. I don't know that I've spent much time thinking about this idea of rhetoric and what people are saying and what they mean. I know that I really deal with it when it comes to on the speaking side and how, in terms of stand-up, how to get to my point as quickly as possible and be as funny as possible, or whether we're talking about interview skills and you're trying to get to the point as fast as possible and sell an idea or sell a product, whatever it is. So I think there's a lot to say, and I think all of this comes with great practice. So hopefully that was great for you. And thanks to Michelle, a sexy producer, Michelle, for putting that together. And go talk to your sons and daughters, if nothing else, about this method and just some, great ideas. Just join the group for Jenny. Good, Octavia. Listen, if nothing else, it is highly entertaining. And there are definitely times where they'll deep dive into stuff. I'm like, I don't get this one, but I don't think you need to get everyone. I think just the different ways that people look at the same conversation are real different sometimes. And sometimes it's overtly wrong. And other times you're like, I don't know, I kind of liked this guy. He seemed like he was really nice. So I just think it's a great place to have those conversations, because who else are you going to have them with? So anyway, so that's it. That's our Monday today. So great job, like I said, for Michelle putting that together. And we'll be doing some more great interviews throughout this month, and lots of fun stuff coming up. So that's it for me. You'll get what is connecting with you at the time you need to read it. Exactly. I think there's something there for everybody for sure. Like Judy from Saskatoon and Good Time Andrea say, get out there and start talking to people. All good stuff. And that's it. And I was on time today and nobody said anything because I did it 2 weeks in a row. All right. And I started my Instagram series on Saturday. So I'll be doing some more of those this week as well. So stay tuned for that. And looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a great day and blessed day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's morning show, make sure to follow us for more OneFunnyMother content.
Okay, all right. Morse code is tapping.
And check out OneFunnyMotherStore.com for great new inappropriate swag. And for more exclusive content, consider becoming a supporter.
She got a bad leg.
Thanks again, and we'll see you tomorrow on One Funny Mother.